What's happening, everybody? James Hancock here. I'm back with part 2 of my Dark Souls 1 walkthrough. I'm playing as a sorcerer, and I plan on staying sorcerer through Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to be getting as many of the secrets and gear as humanly possible, as long as it's relevant to this class. There's certain factions that I won't be joining or following all the way through just because they're not necessarily relevant, but I feel like if you want to play Sorcerer, this guide will pretty much cover everything that exists in the franchise. Now, what I'm doing right here in the new Londo Ruins is totally optional, but it is a nice little advantage early on in the game if you choose to do it. I'm going after a Firekeeper Soul, which will jack up my Estus flasks, but that little part right there, people tend to fall in the water. I'm trying to use my homeward bone there, but I panicked and hit the wrong button, and as you can see, I paid the price. But it doesn't really matter because I'm losing 376 souls, which I'm not going to come back for, and I don't really care. Now, if you've never played Dark Souls before, when you die, you lose your souls, but you have a chance to get them back if you can get back to that point and reclaim them before you get killed. If it's a lot of souls, it's absolutely worth it, but for 376, I can kill 1 or 2 enemies and get that back, so no big loss. As you can tell there, I'm equipping my second soul arrow, so now I'm up to 60 soul arrows, so already early on, without even having put any souls into any of my abilities, I can already just wreck people with that many spells. There I am reinforcing my Estus flask. You can pretty much, I believe in your first playthrough of Dark Souls, you can get up to Estus flask plus 5 by turning in the souls. If there's 6, I'm not aware, but 6 is definitely the max. But in Dark Souls, you have this thing called New Game Plus, New Game Plus Plus, and it allows you to basically get all the gear again, and in some cases spells that weren't previously available. So in my previous 2 playthroughs of Dark Souls, I've only been able to get to plus 6 when I get in a New Game Plus, but I'll do a little research on that as this playthrough continues. And this is me making up my mind to do something really dangerous. There's a part of the game that everybody hates, and it's called, I believe, the Depths. But anyway, it's full of like toxins and poison and insects and just darkness, and it's just fucking awful. As far as Dark Souls is concerned, there are a lot of places that are terrible and awful that fill you with dread. This place is one of the worst. But if you are willing to take a crack at it and know where you're going, for a sorcerer, there's a chance to get some early gear that's really, really advantageous, both for like cosplay as well as for practical reasons. So this is me going down. Now this is only possible if you choose the Master Key as your gift early on. Now, I don't know of anyone who's ever not chosen the Master Key, although I think there's some playthroughs where people choose a different weapon because it gives them an option to kill some bosses early on. For me, I always choose the Master Key because it opens up so many areas early on, as you're about to see. Now, ordinarily, you'd be way stronger before going in here, and like, I'm not going to fight anybody. I'm just going to run past everybody. And there's 2 ways to get down here. This is considered kind of like the back way or the shortcut, and it's definitely the easier way down. The other way down is just brutal and requires some navigating, but because this is a full walkthrough, I'm going to show you every square inch of this place eventually. I just got to do some leveling up and gearing up before I come back here for real. So as you can see, I'm just running past these guys. I love fighting them in general because they're big and slow and I can just blast them with spells. But now I'm on to Blightown. Yes, that's why. It's not the Depths. Depths is a different area. Blightown is what I was meant to say earlier. But make sure you grab this little case right here, or this chest, because you got a nice key. Keys, you basically have to collect all the keys in the game, or you can't clear everything. And my goal is to always do full clear. Some people like to just kill bosses and blast through, and those are totally badass pro gamers who can, clear the entire game in an hour. For me, I really enjoy exploring a world that game developers and game designers have created. For me, part of the fun is the immersive experience, so I always do every square inch, even if it's not relevant to my class or the gear that I'm going after. And here you can tell I'm starting to get a little panicked because there are these guys that shoot these needles, and if the needles hit you, they have a corrosive that can kill you in seconds. I panicked there, jumped, got lucky as hell, but I made it. I could probably claim that I did that on purpose, but I was just trying to get away from that giant insect. There's another one down here, but I'm just going to try and squeeze around him because these guys spit fire, and I can't even handle 1 or 2 ticks without dying. Now, this is the hardest part by far. This little tree branch area, you can see that needle just missed me, but you can slip off that tree branch and die really easily. Coming back's even more difficult. Rolling around this guy, avoiding the fire. Got lucky as shit there. And now here I am grabbing the Crimson Robe, the Crimson Set. It's really awesome. I mean, there's some people that wear that set the entire game. It absolutely kicks ass. And that spell Remedy is even better. Remedy is, I think, the only sorcerer spell that has healing powers, but it's an insanely powerful healing spell. It can basically cure any ailment in the game. And if you have enough points put into your attunement and you have a couple spells, I highly recommend using Remedy. Certainly, and when I return back to Blightown, I'm going to be using it. Now, I'm putting on all the gear just so you can see the full set. I'm not going to wear the full set, though, because I'm a big believer in being able to fast roll and having the highest speed possible in the game. And if your gear is more than 25% of your total capacity, you will slow down a touch. But as you can tell, I've got insufficient strength to use that badass staff that I just picked up. But I'm going to try to avoid putting points in the strength at all unless I absolutely have to. But some people do like putting in a point or two and using that staff as a melee weapon. Here I am just checking out my equipment load, trying to get it down below 12 pounds so that'll be less than 25%. See how my roll's a little slower there? So regrettably, I'm going to drop the chest piece. Now, when you take off a piece of a set, it really makes you fragile. I mean, it's better to wear a full set of shitty gear than like pieces of bad gear in a lot of cases. But gear in Dark Souls is a weird thing because there are a lot of set pieces that are incredibly useful and have really high resistances to either to poison or to fire. This is me just being arrogant. I'm using one of my humanities in order to revive a human because I just think I look cooler. I can't, if I have my shirt off, I can't stand looking at myself as a hollow, so I just want to look cool. A large part of my enjoyment of any game is just looking badass. I refuse to look like a scrub. And so yeah, as long as I'm looking cool, I'm having fun. And oftentimes, even if gear is really advantageous, I won't wear it because I like the way I look. Now, here I am eating all my souls that I've been picking up. It's better if you equip them to your not action bar, but if you equip them, you can eat them all at once really, really quickly. I'm trying to see if I can get my souls high enough to buy my next spell, which is going to take 4,000 souls. And by some miracle, it comes in exactly at 4,000. I did not plan that. It might look like I did, but I felt very, very pro when I saw that I equaled exactly 4,000, which means I'm going to be able to dive into the first part of the game with 60 soul arrows and 12, I think they're called greater soul arrows, which basically makes me insanely overpowered for a character who has not put one soul yet into any of my ability scores. I mean, part of the philosophy of Dark Souls, once you've cleared a game once all the way through, I mean, the first time you clear any Dark Souls game, you're just fighting to learn the maps, you're fighting to find the gear, you're fighting to learn the strategies for the bosses. But then when you start playing it again, the real joy of Dark Souls is finding shortcuts and efficiencies that allow you to progress more quickly and spend more time with the gameplay and less time figuring things out. I mean, Dark Souls, the first thing you played through, is just a beast, figuring out all the secrets, where all the gear is, backtracking, going backwards and forwards, trying to find where things are. But once you kind of know your routes that you like or enjoy, it's just sheer bliss. And as you can see here, my efficiencies have worked out in my favor because I'm buying heavy soul arrow for 4,000 souls. And once I equip that spell back at the bonfire, I'm just going to be able to nuke people because that is a really, really powerful spell for early on in the game. But the goal of Dark Souls is you don't want to waste time. I mean, any game, you don't want to waste time. Life is short. If you're wasting time, then you're kind of doing it wrong. The goal is to be getting the maximum amount of fun and excitement and progression out of every second you spend. And while some people, they just want to do PvP, and some people just want to fight bosses, and some people just want to explore, but figure out what makes the game worth playing to you, what makes it exciting, and then just do that. But for me, I want to see the entire map. I want to find all the gear. I want to explore all the quests, and I want to do it in the fastest amount of time possible so that I can start over and do it again with a different character, because the coolest thing about Dark Souls is the customization. You can make so many different kinds of characters. I mean, you can make a pure dex build, or you can make a pure strength build. But if you have certain fictional characters, either from film or from novels or from animation or whatever, and you kind of want to build a character that approximates that, with enough time and energy, you can invest your souls however you want. So if you want a battle axe wielding, pyromancer who hurls fireballs, that's what you can do. Or if you just want a big-ass tank who can barely move but can basically run through anything and just smash things with a giant axe or sword as big as you are, that you can do as well. So, like I said, you can play Dark Souls over and over and over again with different tunes, or if you just really find this perfect build that you think is just the Mac Daddy build, then you can play it through on New Game Plus. Now, I can vividly recall the first time I played Dark Souls. Even this first area was just terrifying to me because I couldn't figure out why the enemies were so hard, couldn't figure out why I kept falling off things and dying, and I kept thinking, like, am I playing the game wrong? Like, why is this game so hard? And it wasn't that it was so hard, it's just that I sucked. And I mean, granted, I still kind of suck in a lot of ways, and the fact that I got hit even at all in this part shows that I've got a long way to go. But this is a kind of a dangerous part. You gotta get up to speed and jump, woo! But yeah, getting around this edge. A lot of people just skip this entirely because it causes them anxiety. But I think it's good to have these Rings of Sacrifice. Rings of Sacrifice basically allow you to die and keep all your souls. So there will be a few times in the game where you're gonna want to put that sucker on because you know you're gonna die. Don't be fooled by all the ledges down below. You cannot drop down to them, or at least I've never seen anybody do it. This jump back is harder than the jump across, but I got lucky. So yeah, this playthrough so far, I'm making myself look better than I actually am, because when I'm playing these games, I spend a lot of time just screaming in rage and freaking out. I remember when I first started Dark Souls 2, I basically made a vow that I had to stop, like, screaming in rage or pounding my fist into my open hand, that I needed just every time I got mad just to do push-ups, just to get some exercise. And I'm actually getting pretty damn strong. Every time you see a rat in the game, kill it. They have a very, very high drop rate of humanities. Humanities not only allow you to become human so you can summon people, but they also allow you to fully heal if you're in a tight spot on a boss fight and you're out of Estus Flask. And later on, if you have 30 of them, you can max out a particular covenant that will allow you a huge shortcut toward the end of the game, one that I highly, highly recommend. So here we are in the Undead Burg, one of my all-time favorite zones in any game ever, because I like castles and towns. I like exploring castles and towns, especially ones that have a lot of secrets and shortcuts, and this place just has tons. What I really hate in games are swamp areas and desert areas. I always find them boring as hell because they usually mean, like, they have swamps. I mean, not swamps, scorpions or snakes or spiders, whatever. And I can't stand poison areas where you're walking through stuff that slowly makes you weak. I just find it much more exciting to be in a medieval environment that looks and feels like something out of the Dark Ages, and you're just fighting all sorts of crazy undead and spellcasters. So yeah, the atmosphere of the Undead Burg has never ceased to amaze me. That gear right there, that soul, I spent like a month trying to figure out how to get it and just driving myself crazy. But anyway, that's how you do it. Now I'm going to be working my way back around to the starting point, but there's just a couple little guys. Smack these guys off the ledge if you can, if you're quick, because there's no reason to let them take a swing at you, because, you know, if you're a spellcaster, 1 or 2 shots, I mean, depending on how you build your character, 1 or 2 shots is about all you can take before you are done. And these guys, the crazy thing about Dark Souls is that no matter how powerful you get, and no matter how good you get, if you let your guard down for a second, even the weakest characters in the game can just shred you to pieces. So once again, with the spellcaster, you want to stay light on your feet, very nimble, and keep your distance. Like, some people really like to do the medium speed, and granted, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, you have to remember, there are little subtle changes and differences between all 3, and what one applies to one may not be true in another. I'll have to check and before I find out what exactly are the encumbrance rates on Dark Souls 2 and 3, but I do know that in Dark Souls 1, the fastest speed is below 25%, and I think everything between 25 and maybe 50, or everything between 25 and 75 is the same speed, and then you start getting into some really slow speeds. But if you notice, the people that are really, really good at the game, that clear the whole game in an hour and just blast through all the bosses, they don't wear any gear at all. I always love that. It used to scare the hell out of me because I always forget that fucker's coming through. But we will kill him later on, but not for a very long time. He's actually kind of a beast, and he's a really interesting obstacle early on. That fucker up there on that tower is going to be shooting arrows, so make sure you keep moving, because those arrows will make your life hell. I'm just trying to get some backstabs and failing. So dodging arrows, backing up, using my spells. I like backstabbing, even though spells are kind of my bread and butter, just because backstabbing looks so cool and makes you feel cool, makes a nice sound. It's just incredibly satisfying. So I just try to whip those bad boys out whenever possible. Also, something cool about having a knife and just cutting someone's throat or stabbing them in the shoulders. When I was a big D&D player, I always loved having like rogue mage combinations. I always liked having a little bit of hand-to-hand and combined with my spell work. And I'm an idiot. I got shot there because I suck at video games. And I should have just stabbed him with a dagger, but I blasted him all the same. We're starting to run out of time, but I decided to make a move just in order to demonstrate what a kick is. So I'm just using spells on the first guy, but the second guy, learning how to kick is incredibly useful because you can knock someone's shield out of the way. So watch, it's like a boom, go around them. I didn't even probably need to kick to do that, but if I decided just to stab him, I could have done that as well, but I probably wouldn't have done that much damage, which is why I went for the backstab. But kicking is huge for like breaking their guard and getting the shield out of the way.
Well,
here's one of the first vendors. He's a creepy bastard. He has creepy laughs. Creepy laughs are kind of a recurring thing, but I'm buying the residence key. That is absolutely vital to progression. But also, this is a great place to pick up what's called the heater shield. Heater shield, super light, but pretty damn powerful relative to how much it weighs. So I'm going to eat a bunch of souls, get up to 1,000 souls, and then buy the heater shield. Like I said, I'm probably not going to raise my strength much at all in this, and most of the good shields take a lot more strength than I'm probably going to want to invest. But the heater shield, I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time blocking. I could probably get away with the heater shield throughout the rest of the game. There's some other shields that have different resistances, but this guy will be totally fine for the foreseeable future. So, like I said, I'm barely ever going to even have that shield on because I'm not, this is not the kind of character that's going to be doing a lot of blocking. All right, as you can see, I'm shooting a lot of my spells up and over the bad guys. In Dark Souls 3, I'm just sucking trying to get that backstab, didn't get it. Dark Souls 3, the tracking on your spells is insane. You can basically jump anywhere and your spells are going to still hit them. Dark Souls 1, because it's probably the hardest of the three, really makes you practice, and there's an arc to your spells. They kind of go up and over. And if something's jumping or ducking, it's real easy to overshoot your opponent. So you just kind of get used to where the spells go, and you will miss a lot less often. But yeah, I played Dark Souls 3 back in April of 2016 when it came out, so it kind of spoiled me when I played my Sorcerer playthrough. Here's another secret. You got to line up and do a little jump. Boom, you cannot make it otherwise. A lot of people bang their heads against the wall trying to come from the lower part. I don't even know why I do this because it's just for the crossbow, which I never use, but like I said, I'm going to try to hit every single piece of gear that's possible to get. So if you are someone who likes crossbows, that is where you get your first one. I don't think I've ever actually played with a crossbow in any character. I'm just much more of a bowman. So anyway, I'm about to draw this video to a close. I'm coming into the next bonfire. But if you've liked this video, please remember to subscribe to my channel and like. If you want to give me a shout on Twitter at Colbrax or at Geeking Out, I'm there most of the time talking about flicks. I'm a big movie dork more than anything, more than a gamer, but I do enjoy gaming as well. So yeah, I'm eating the remainder of my souls, and I'm going to put my first point into vitality just for a little more health. That's why not. Intelligence is important, but being able to survive hits is also important. But I hope you like this video. I'm going to try and rip through this as fast as humanly possible. I really want to have a complete playthrough. But for now, I'm signing off, so thank you so much for watching. Talk to y'all soon.